on the issue of discussion on Tudong, sir, I would like to offer myself to the ministers to be part of this closed door discussion. I'm not privy to any of the discussion being done behind closed door. I believe that, that's what Minister has mentioned, it's only involved PAP Malay MPs, and I feel that all elected Malay MPs should be part of this closed door discussion. So maybe through this, my involvement as well as other elected Malay MPs discussion behind the closed door, I may consider not to bring or not to surface up what is deemed as insensitive and divisive issue.
On the issue of consulting and talking to Mr. Faisal Manap, I think he will recall that immediately after our last exchange, maybe about 5 years ago, we had a closed-door discussion why I had to raise it the way I did it and what the points were and why we should not put this up in the open. We had that close discussion, although it was not something that I invited him to, but I used that opportunity to explain to him behind closed doors why this has to be done. So it was not that I've never done it with the member, I have done it. But it continues to be put up in the open on every occasion that can be done. And like I said, these are issues that we have our approach, which is to do it behind closed doors with our leaders, who we hope can understand and know how to bring this up to the community. And I know the member continues to have a different approach. But may I also ask Dr. Maliki to clarify on the issue of how to approach this, so that this is not a closed-door issue about how to approach between on issues like this, which are sensitive and complex.
We have continued to engage union leaders, religious teachers, respected members of the community, putting to them the concerns of the government, the other community leaders, and as well as not just the Muslim community. They agree that these are sensitive issues and best discussed behind closed doors. They also agree that the solution is not straightforward and we should not rush into one without addressing these other concerns. And whether Mr. Faisal Manap participates in these sessions or not, I think the most important thing is a large segment of the community has been consulted, and we continue to consult them. Take uniforms as an example. Uniforms serve as to project the common identity, which in turn develop an esprit de corps and strengthen camaraderie. In the case of public healthcare services, the uniform underscores that our healthcare workers are neutral and provide impartial care regardless of race and religion. This is a reminder on both the healthcare workers as well as the persons receiving the care. This is in addition to the uniform meeting operational and safety requirements. There are Muslim scholars, sir. There are Muslim scholars who have given guidance that Muslims must make appropriate adjustments while staying true to their faith when living in a plural and contemporary society. This is important for us in Singapore. We must avoid situations like in other countries where issues of religious expression take center stage and become a divisive matter and put certain groups under the spotlight. His Excellency Dr. Ahmad Al-Taib he came to Singapore. He spoke about the Tudong when he delivered the Muiz lecture in Singapore in 2018. The Grand Imam made it clear that while Islam commands women to wear tudung, he advised Muslim women against leaving their jobs solely because they are not able to wear it. He advised not to make hijab an issue that determines your life to the extent that you have no choice but to leave your job. That there is a legal maxim in Islam that would permit Muslim women to take off their tudung due to work requirements. Mr. Faisal Manap may not agree with our approach, but this is our approach. Our religious scholars and community leaders support our approach as they understand that these issues, especially those that involve racial and religious sensitivities, are complex and any decision on them should not be taken lightly. We must also ensure that our approach in addressing such issues safeguards the harmony between all races and religions in Singapore. As articulated earlier, Mr. Faisal Manor has previously, in previous occasions, also raised this issue, and he had articulated before that he's doing so because it's his job as a member of parliament and giving feedback to government. We must know that our role as members of parliament is more than just giving feedback and reflecting public sentiment in the open, even in parliament. Yes, there is nothing that we cannot bring up in parliament. PAP Muslim MPs also recognize our role as leaders of our communities. As leaders, we must exercise discretion and know the implications of our actions. We are leaders and we have the responsibility to ensure our collective desired outcome as a society and country to maintain racial and religious harmony. This cannot be compromised. Thus, as leaders, we have to lead our community to understand sensitivities when they cannot initially, maybe, of such topics and issues which are best not discussed in the open. If we are not careful, any discussion in the open may lead to serious ramifications.
Indeed, we have a closed-door, person-to-person talk on this issue last year. I do recall that. So I would like to ask Minister whether he can extend the trust that he has in me as discussing such thing behind closed door in a really formal closed door setting. Pertains to what has been alluded by Minister Maliki. He did mention that there are some countries where uniforms are not being allowed to be donned by nurses because it causes divisiveness. But in contrast, I kind of recall there are quite a number of countries like Australia, New Zealand, and UK actually allows tudung to be donned. So I'd like Dr. Maliki to at least share a country or two which he was referring to earlier.
Actually, by speaking to the member personally, I am involving him and I'm treating him specially because I want this to be a heart-to-heart talk with him and exchange our views and not open ourselves to speaking in a setting which we may have to constrain or hold ourselves. And I will continue with the member if he wants to. I mean, we know where to meet, and we can talk, and we will continue to talk. But I urge the member to continue to look at this situation in a very special way, because this is about racial harmony, religious harmony, and the peace that we have with each other. Don't disturb it with putting up a sensitive topic like this that may spur some part of our community to actions that we may regret later on. On the issue of why other countries can do it, there are many things that other countries do that we don't do. We are Singaporeans, we do what is good by Singapore. If we want to do something that they like, we must also then do what we don't like that they do. I don't think we want that either. We do what is good for us, our community, our nation.
Ustaz, I met you, Pergas officers, Ustaz Ali and Ustaz Pasuni in this room, 31st of August last year, 6 months ago. We were sitting at that table having lunch, so in this same mosque. And you asked me about nurses wearing tudung. And I told you very frankly, we can see good reasons why nurses should be allowed to wear tudung if they choose to do so. And I said this was being discussed internally, and after that, our view, there is likely to be a change. And we are also consulting with the community before we make a change. That is the government's position. We also have discussed with MUIS, taken into account the views given by MUIS, which have been very helpful. In private, I was able to share with you candidly our position and the sensitivities and the difficulties we worry about. Similarly, we have discussed in private with RRG many issues on religious issues, on terrorism, other issues, and also on tudung. In public, we are careful about how all of this is discussed. So on tudung, Minister Mas said in Parliament, government is empathetic, the matter is being discussed. So what does he mean when he says government is empathetic? It is that we understand the feelings of those who wish nurses to be allowed to wear the tudung. It is to signal flexibility. He didn't say no. Unfortunately, lots of misunderstanding about what the Ministers Mas and Maliki have said. The clearest indication of our position is what I said to you 6 months ago. As I said, the discussions with the community are going on. They will take a few more months. PM will also meet with the community leaders. When the discussions are completed, the government will announce its decision.